its influence on the affairs of planet Earth, I think from the beginning of its recorded history, certainly up until now. And tonight we have some information for you to really chew on, if you will, a little bit, about the reality of the extraterrestrial on our nearest planet. No, I'm not talking about Venus or Mars. I'm talking about the Moon. Would you believe that there are things perhaps going on the Moon that defy explanation in any other terms other than the extraterrestrial is up there kind of rummaging around, doing things? Well, our guest tonight certainly thinks so, and he has some guests for it. I want you to say hello and welcome to Open Mind Fred Steckling. Fred is a researcher and an author of a book of alien bases on the Moon that's cram-packed with some incredible photographs and an awful lot of research. Fred, why did you get into, and where did you get the idea that there are alien bases on the Moon?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the many people that have written to me since I was on your show last year here.
Mm-hmm.
And the many letters I have received are very favorable, although there have been some which are not.
We always get that.
Naturally, because it's a controversial subject, and one has to count on that. To start out with, I have always been interested in astronomy and aviation. And I have studied the Moon with several different telescopes for many, many years. Approximately 15 years back, I used a 12.5-inch cave reflector. And I've noticed already then that something was going on the Moon that cannot be explained. Lights, flashing lights, and often moving from one crater to another.
The lights do dance around from Tycho to Archimedes to all of the other craters on the Moon.
Right.
And there's no real reason for that in a natural kind of way? There's no swamp gas up there, is there?
Well, no, it couldn't, because as we are told, there is no atmosphere, so gases could not stay in shape and move around like that, and especially to be seen from Earth from such a far distance. But with all the sightings that we had, including my son, which is here with me tonight, we observed 3 immense objects in the crater Archimedes many years ago. And after examining our lunar charts, none of such objects are recorded in there. So we knew that whatever we had seen was real. It was in that crater, parked on the bottom, on the floor of the crater Archimedes.
What were the dimensions of these objects?
Oh, miles and miles long.
25 miles, 30 miles?
Approximately 25 miles long. And
how wide? 8,000 feet? 10,000 feet?
Probably a couple of miles wide.
Like a cylinder?
Like a cylinder, yes. And there were 3 of them in Archimedes. And naturally, when we started our space program with the orbiter, lunar orbiter, first with the rangers and the lunar orbiters, I was curious to find out what we have photographed there. And after getting in contact with NASA in the late 60s, I obtained their microfilms from the Apollo landings and catalogs, and studied over 10,000 photographs carefully, and then ordered these photographs by number, enlargements, and picked out those for my book, Alien Bases on the Moon.
Now, Fred, certainly NASA officials are looking at these photographs too. Why aren't they seeing these things and reporting them to the public? Because if there are alien bases on the Moon, isn't our government going to tell us about that?
I don't think so. Not just right out there, because you know.
Amazing. Why not?
Well, you know about the UFO situations. We have had them with us for so long now, and we have never really received an official statement. Perhaps a national security, perhaps a military cover-up. There are many suggestions why this has not been told to the public. Perhaps they are afraid the public would panic when they are told that, well, we went to the Moon and we've seen immense objects, immense vehicles moving around, not built on Earth. Then the people may be frightened. That's possible, although I don't believe so. I think the people should be told what we have found up there.
Well, since you were here, there have been a number of the Apollo astronauts on KABC. Pete Conrad was one. Michael Jackson asked him about it. Pete Conrad says no, that's a lot of baloney, that nothing like that happened. Michael even read him a little bit of the transcript where he was describing an object that was flying along with them that just took off in another direction, and Conrad said, well, we were just joking with Houston. Of course, for 2.5 hours, this joke took up an awful lot of their time. Why are the astronauts not coming clean? We've asked Edgar Mitchell about some of the incredible pictures that were taken on Apollo 14, and he says, well, that's just a lot of hooey. We didn't see anything up there. Well, why are the astronauts not coming clean?
They're military men, they're high commission officers, and they have their responsibilities, and probably were ordered to secrecy. And there are many experts that have admitted they have seen something up there. I'm sure you're familiar with Mr. Maurice Chatelain, who wrote the book, Our Ancestors Came from Outer Space. Well, he was a government scientist, or NASA scientist, in charge of Apollo communication. And in his book, he states quite openly that our Apollo flights have been trailed by UFOs to the moon, that we had them there on the moon when we landed. And why would such a man, with so much knowledge, make such a statement? He must have, have first-hand information. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example here. Donald Sistra, chief of NASA publication in Washington, D.C., made this revealing statement. During the Apollo manned flight missions, there were sightings from the spacecraft which our astronauts were unable to explain. Okay. Now, if the astronauts have now a different explanation, well, that's up to them. We know we are not told the truth about many things.
Well, frankly, it sounds to me like when the astronauts try to explain things, what we're hearing is a debriefing piece of rhetoric that they are supposed to tell. And they will tell it if they're on these microphones or anybody else's microphones. Why?
Well, I don't know. Some time ago, I met Dr. Fred Bell, who also worked for NASA, and he obtained my book, and he liked it very much. I was told by people that know him quite well that he was going to support it. And Dr. Bell stated, the astronauts have kept silent about UFO encounters because they are trained to believe it is a matter of national security. And Dr. Bell admitted that he had seen photographs of UFOs taken by the astronauts. It is generally accepted by the scientists that the government of Earth hesitate to admit that we really are defenseless against advanced beings from another planet. So, you see, that's how the wind blows.
An associate of mine, who I have a great deal of confidence in, spent a whole afternoon with Admiral Alan Shepard and asked him point blank. And with no emotion in his face at all, no twinkle in his eye, Admiral Shepard denied that he was aware of anything other than what they expected to find on the moon.
Well.
And this was in a very private conversation.
Well, what do you believe? Do you believe that we are told the truth?
No, I don't.
Well, okay. Me either.
I have seen a lot of evidence to the otherwise, but I do want to point out that the astronauts themselves, that the NASA officials, for the most part, although some now are beginning to talk in other areas, that the President of the United States, that the Congress of the United States, that the members of the Defense Department, that our government is not telling us anything. Now comes another question. If they're keeping it a secret, it is probably one of the few secrets that our government has ever been able to keep. Somehow or another, secrets are not very well kept by the United States government, but this one is.
Not really, because if it would, then books like mine and other books on this subject.
And George Leonard's, yes.
George Leonard, Somebody Else Is on the Moon, and then another gentleman which I know also, Moongate, Bill Bryan, they have collected evidence that there is something going on. And if we would have a total blackout of information, everything classified, it would be impossible even to gain this information that we have received. So I believe that there is a cover-up, but not as severe as most people feel, that the information is available, the picture